Thank you all for coming out on this beautiful day. The meeting is of the CPC is called to order. The first order of business is the minutes of the June 15th meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion?
They look good to me. I move they are accepted.
Thank you, Michael. Is there a second?
I second them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David. Does anyone have any questions? I'll give you a minute just to double check.
While you're doing that, I just got a email from Lisa. She came to the meeting. I'm going to suggest something else for her to do.
Well, we'll get to the funds in just a minute.
Well, no, I just want to get her into the meeting.
Oh, get her in. Oh, she's joining us.
Yes, she
Oh,
just.
I didn't realize that. Excellent.
Yes.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. It's again me. I will let Geraldine in.
Yeah, and Lisa Holmes, but I have to email her back.
I don't see Lisa.
No, she's having a problem getting in.
While you're doing that.
Well, she's trying to get in, but she says somebody in.
Oh, here,
She's
waiting room. Let's try it again. I'll admit.
Lisa Holmes.
Yep, got it.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you meant Lisa Sauvé. My apologies.
No, Lisa Holmes.
Yes.
From the playground.
Yes,
Right.
Thank you very much. Geraldine, can you hear us?
Hi, Lisa. You want to unmute yourself?
I do. I just, full disclosure, I thought the meeting was at 9 a.m. so my babysitter's gone
Okay, she
and
is.
we will
Oh,
have some
sorry.
toddler background noise if I'm not
Okay,
muted.
got
So
it.
maybe I'll just chime in when you need me.
And Geraldine,
Hey.
Geraldine, you're on mute, but can you just acknowledge that you can hear us? Wow.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you,
All right,
Geraldine.
now
You
I've
can't-
lost my screen, Gary. I have the screen, but I only have one name, Gerald. I need to see the full screen.
Uh,
what-
I-
Wait, I've got it back.
You look at the view.
I've got it.
Yep, okay. Okay,
Okay.
so I think we
Wait,
have,
can you see me?
Not
I
yet.
cannot see you, Geraldine, but we can hear you.
Okay, good. I
Thank you.
have learned a new thing about the human body. There's such a thing as a Baker's cyst. And I just developed one and I'm lying in bed in my underwear.
We can see you.
Geraldine,
TMI.
this may come under the category of too much information. So I think we will let you be wherever you are and however you
Thank you.
are. All right. So we have moved and seconded the minutes and taken a minute to look at it. Are there any corrections? Seeing none, I ask for the vote. I'm just going to ask for a show of hands and say aye. All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Excellent. So the second order of business is the finances. It's just frustrating, I guess. We keep asking, how much money do we have in the CPC that we can award in this grant round? And, you know, we have a guesstimate of what our money should be, but we're waiting for the town to complete their audit to give us a figure that we can deal with. So we still don't have that amount. And there was a notice that came out that the town, the anticipated fall town meeting is now not going to be until December.
Gosh.
And early in December. I don't know if everyone is aware of that, but so it may be a while before, and I suspect that is to get the accounting straight. So it may be a while before we know exactly how much money we have to award. So as we go forward in our review of the applications, just be aware of that all of this is subject to the availability of funds. Not sure anyone have anything to add to that? Very good. So in the interest, I don't know that we have do we have actually an order for the presentations, but since Lisa is here and her children are not on the screen just yet, maybe we'll ask her to go first. And usually, Lisa, I'm going to ask everyone to go around the room and introduce themselves, including yourself. And then I think people will take questions unless there's, ask questions unless there's something you want to add. So as I see it, on the top left, Fred, do you want to start?
Okay, I just unmuted myself. Our house is getting painted, so there's sander noise outside. I don't know if you can pick that up if I keep the microphone on or not, but I'll just unmute myself. I have something to say, okay?
Okay,
Fred Springs. I'm from the Open Space Committee.
excellent.
And I know Lisa from school, Jan Plowy. Hi, Lisa.
Very good. Anyone else want to take
I'm
the
Rhonda
lead?
Fowler from the rec department.
Excellent.
I'm David Mead Fox from the Planning Board.
Very good. Elaine,
Elaine McElroy from the Housing Authority.
Jody?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm Geraldine Raymer.
She is an open, we have
I'm
two
at
community.
large, right?
At large, right. And who have we missed?
Mike Fisher from the Conservation Commission.
Thank you very much, Mike.
And Mary
McCullough
Rogers.
Jim
Wait.
McCullough from the Wellfleet Historical Commission.
Thank you very much, Jim. And I'm Gary Sorkin, and I represent the Housing Partnership. So Lisa, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself in a minute, but as you know, we are a committee that administers the CPA funds that the town has, which is an override on our taxes as well as some state money. And we represent the various groups, and there's really 4 areas that we can award to, and those are open space, housing, historic, and recreation. Lisa, do you want to introduce yourself, and then maybe we'll ask some questions?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I am Lisa Holmes, and I have been a teacher at the elementary school for 12 years. I recently resigned, so I won't be going back this year, but I had a great run and a great time doing it. And I'm just here today to kind of represent the playground committee. I was, at recess duty all last year watching these children playing in a field of wood chips, and I just felt like, something really needs to be done before 2024, which is when the playground comes up for budget. So yeah, I'm just here to kind of answer any questions you have about the application and, hopefully show some support for this project.
Lisa, I'm going to throw it open to the members first, but can you explain what happened to the playground and why it had to be torn down when it was?
Sure. Yep. So basically what happened was, we have our playground inspector that comes every so often as scheduled, and they had made a plan for demolition a few years ago, within 6 to 10 years. So it was slated for demolition soon anyway. And then from what I understand, there was an injury on the playground a year ago. So a year ago this summer, which prompted whoever's in charge, I think it says somewhere in our application, but it prompted the demolition early. So
I think it was the fire department.
The fire department, thank you. So not only was the main structure torn down, but every satellite structure as well. So the swing sets, any other climbing structures, the seesaw. So all that's left is the little fenced in Montessori area, which the elementary school kids don't have access to, and a couple of benches. And the rest is just an open field of wood chips. There was going to be a new playground built, and then 2 other projects kind of took precedence for the capital budget funds, which was a fire suppression system and a lot of exterior work that needs to be done to the building. So now we're just kind of third in line behind these other major projects, and trying to scramble to come up with a way to maybe raise funds outside of that capital budget money to try to get some kind of a playground going earlier than 3 years from now.
Great. Folks, I open it up to your questions.
I have a question, just a quick question on the capital budget issue. You're saying that the next opportunity to get capital budget funds is in 3 years, is that right?
From what I understand, it's fiscal year 2024. So the construction of the playground would be the summer of 2023.
Yeah. Okay.
So 2 full years from now is when construction would begin.
Unless something else comes up that takes the place of it in the capital budget.
Right.
Yeah. Oh God, Rhonda. I didn't even think of that.
Okay. Other questions that folks have?
Gary, I have a question. Shall I go
Sure,
ahead?
Michael, go ahead.
So as I see it from the proposal, you're going to be assembling sort of a modular system that should eventually look much like it was before it was demolished. Is that correct?
I don't believe that the actual plans have been made. I think so far, Mary Beth, who's our principal, she had done a ton of legwork before COVID to get this going when we thought we were going to be able to do it sooner before the fire suppression system came up. So I think she had gotten as far as getting surveys from staff, students, and community members about what they wanted to see as far as features go. And she had done some cost estimates as well. But as far as the actual final design of the playground, that's still up for debate.
And how would it proceed? Would it be you put out a request for proposals from people doing construction, or do you
Yes.
buy a off-the-shelf system? How does it work?
We would continue to fundraise throughout this year. And once the budget's confirmed at town meeting, the final playground schematics and the final architectural plan should be approved by October. And I just want to apologize in advance for not being a complete expert on this. It's really Mary Beth who could tell you the ins and outs of every bit of this, especially as far as the budget and the planning of the playground go. And I can certainly follow through with any questions that you have that I can't answer. But the basic gist of it is we were actually surprised. Rhonda had reached out to let us know that your deadline was August. So, you know, we kind of scrambled to get some stuff together to hopefully meet this August deadline, but we weren't, as a playground committee, planning on having all of this together until October. So we're a little bit flustered, but certainly, you know, happy to be able to apply a little bit earlier. And I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of the gist of the timeline.
Hey, Michael.
Yes, ma'am.
I was a bit flummoxed in that, you know, this is a circumstance where our community isn't 100% aware of CPC funds and how they're able to be used. So the reason why I reached out to Lisa and Mary Beth was that Lisa had very kindly put out a flyer that was in Wellfleet Community Space to try to get together a committee to figure out creative ways of trying to get monies in order to create a playground, when in fact we've got the housing project going on across the street, and it's a solid use of the CPC money, as we know, because of the playground that we've already funded and the pavilion, and it, you know, it creates space not only for the school children, which is perfectly reasonable for them to have a playground, but it also creates community space for when the housing is there. So I think it's that, as Lisa is saying, they're going to continue to fundraise. I think they still don't understand that we have the ability to fund the entire project from, you know, from nuts to bolts, because there's a playground in Orleans that I think that overall they're going to be looking at is a popular playground that they might emulate. Becky is in the middle of her camp season, and she has like all the resources for the playground that they've already created. So, you know, she's going to be happy to give them resources for bidding. And I think that the according to Mary Beth, the bidding process, which she started, you know, some years back, increases as we know. Everything goes up every single year. So that's what the 375 is based on is a playground that would be conducive to as many children as they have at the school, and kind of based roughly around the Orleans one. But they, as Lisa says, they don't have a plan. But I don't think that they still don't realize that CPC has money, and this is in keeping with the auspices of which we're here for, to create that playground, to help them fund the playground that they want.
Great, Rhonda, thank you. Other questions?
Just
Go ahead, I'm sorry, David.
I just wanted to say, I think this is a great use of funds and I support it. I also think that this is, not to use a political phrase, this is a build back better kind of a moment for the playground. So if there's a way, obviously, I'm sure that's the thinking. If this was first done 30 years ago, I'm sure design standards, regulations, theories of play, and everything, technologies and materials, all has changed dramatically. And so my perspective is, let's go with the best that could be done. Maybe it is the Orleans example, as opposed to somehow thinking we're going to put back what was there before. I mean, maybe it'll look like that, I don't know. But the point is, we have an opportunity to make it better.
Better, right. And the school should find somebody, possibly with Becky's help, since she's been crafting these for so long. And they probably have some ideas of their own, of people that they want to contact, as well as the Orleans designer. So Lisa, hi Lewin. So Lisa, I hope you're understanding that even though you've got your fundraising hat on, that the people that are sitting here are responsible for looking out for our community and making sure that projects like these that benefit so many.
I mean, it feels like a godsend because, like I said, I sat at recess duty all year looking out, like, how are we going to make it 2 or 3 more years?
Yeah, well,
so to know
and open space is really important to us, and their ability to.
Rhonda, let's give other folks a chance to speak. Jen, you had some comments?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to make sure that, to go way back to Michael's question, definitely is not the idea to put back what was there. As former school committee member, I can tell you that. The idea is to create as creative a space as possible, because play has changed dramatically in how we understand its importance. And so there were several people, knowledgeable people who know about children's play, who are already working on how to design this and make it innovative and wonderful for the community. So I think we could be assured of that. It's a little tough without a plan to approve the money. That's my only reservation here, without seeing a plan and having something a little more concrete. And since town meeting's not going to be until December, we were rushing this because we thought it was going to be earlier. Is it possible that some design could come before us, before we decide on this? I wonder about that.
I think you raise a really good point, Jan, is that our timetable was being dictated by a September town meeting. But now that it's pushed back, we can both give ourselves and give the applicants a little more time to fully develop.
Can I ask a question of the group?
Can I just ask you, are there other folks that have questions for it, Lisa?
I just wondered how the cost estimate was arrived at.
Lisa?
Yeah, so it's all in the application. But in a nutshell, there was a bid, I don't know if that's the right word, an estimate given a few years ago when it was first determined that, demolition was imminent. And then I think 3% was added every year to that cost. So we arrived at 383 for the total project cost this year. And that takes into account just that inflation.
Right. So you wouldn't know how much would be allocated for equipment, how much for site preparation, and those
Only
things are.
that those things are all taken into account with that final price with the 383. It says here that, all the site, everything is included. And then, as well as the maintenance and everything is all accounted for. Sorry. Yeah.
Gary, can I just ask, do we have a new deadline that we could think about relative to the December town meeting for getting materials in?
Let's assume for this, I'm sorry, did you want to say something, Elaine?
Well, that's what I just looked up the letter about town meeting. And it said that you have to have everything to the select board by October 1st.
October 1st. So it gives us, and if we have to have it to the select board by October 1st, and that's obviously based upon it, is it December 4th is the date of the proposed town meeting, Elaine? Do I remember correctly?
And
So we probably have an extra month.
And the warrant doesn't close until October 30th. So I'm not sure the October 1st and October 30th, what the.
Yeah, but Elaine, doesn't, this is a fall town meeting, but it would follow the same requirements of 30 days prior to the meeting.
Yeah.
For them to publish the warrant. So
Right.
if we assume for the sake of argument that it's a December 4th meeting, and again, that's a moving target, then we would probably have to have our recommendations completed by around the 1st in order to meet a deadline of October 4th.
I did want to say one other thing if I could.
Sure.
I think this is, at the size of this project, it is a public procurement process. So I think there are requirements for getting 3 bids. And I do think seeing something like that, is an important part of the application. And hopefully that could be done in time. I have to do full disclosure. I was on the playground committee for the last playground.
Wow.
And I'm so sorry it didn't last longer. And we based it on the one in Orleans that all our kids loved. And of course, everybody wanted it to be natural wood. And but as you say, things have really changed. And I would love to see one put in that can last even longer. But it was really fun to do. And I was devastated when I went over about a year ago and saw it, and so this is very important. But I do think it's at that amount of money, it has to go through a public procurement process. So it would be helpful if the bids could come in soon.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's all.
Go ahead, Fred. Fred, you're muted.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I agree, it's a very nice project. I would, like others have said, I'd like to see more detail about the budget before I would feel comfortable about supporting it.
Lisa, I did talk to Mary Beth before a month ago or so about the project, and I said that we really needed a specific bid. So I think everyone is expressing the same need. I think the question is it possible in the next few weeks, or maybe even up to a month, to actually get some competitive bids so that we can have a better sense of the dollars and the budget? I think the other considerations are we don't know how much money we have. So it's difficult to say how much we can offer to this, but I did ask Mary Beth, is there an interim step? Here's a tricky thing. We're not supposed to use CPA funds to replace what the town would normally buy through their capital budget. So in this case, it's really a timing issue. I mean, the town ought to buy this, but they've decided to put off the capital request for 2 years. And ultimately, the losers on that are the kids. So we're really sensitive to that, but it does provide a kind of tricky aspect to the funding. So if it were something that we could provide some interim solution, I mean, is there something that you could buy for less money that would be in the step up in the process of building the whole thing, or do you have to build the whole thing all at once? That's a question.
That's a really good question. And I'd actually spoken with Wendy Farrell, who did the Orleans playground. And, I had this idea of the community coming together like we do so beautifully and fundraising the whole thing and, just getting it done with private donations and people chipping in and, all my friends down there with their, site work machines. And she quickly made me realize that was, it's very naive and a huge undertaking. So that kind of, to answer your question, it kind of got us thinking, okay, well, what can we do to privately fundraise or, some features? So if we can't have the whole playground now, can we just buy a slide? Can we get a swing set? So that's something that I think if, I'll talk to Mary Beth and see about getting bids, how quickly we can get bids and details about the budget. And also, is there a way to kind of put a Band-Aid on it and, do it in stages so that, in a couple of years when we do get the capital budget money, we can really finish it off, but maybe have something in the meantime.
And I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but could you accelerate the capital request by a year? No, Jan? Jan, you're muted.
The dogs were barking. They're so excited. I have company and 2 dogs here. I think that Lisa made that clear in the beginning. We were supposed to have the playground in 22. And because of more pressing details and needs, I wondered if we could be reimbursed when the capital budget comes up. If it could be a loan rather than a grant. Is
Mary,
there such a thing?
That's a great idea. Jan, I don't know is the answer. Mary, could you check with the state organization? Is it possible for us to give a grant that would be repaid at some point?
I will check, but the Eastham housing at Brackett Road there, that was a loan technically.
That was a what? I'm sorry.
That was a loan technically. We paid it 100 years. And you've had some housing grants that the money came back.
That's true. We have it. They weren't, if I recall correctly, it was a CDBG grant, a community block grant, not CPA funds. But Mary, just if you could, just
I will check that. I will check on.
Because that might be a strategy that makes it more palatable. Because we'll get the same questions at town meeting, honestly, if we were to go forward with this, as much as I think everyone supports the concept of a playground, but people will have much the same ideas. I'm sorry, David.
That's okay. I just not ready to let go of this completely right now, to be honest with you, because I'm concerned that it's going to be difficult to get sufficient information in a timely way, given that there is, let's say 2 to 4 weeks from now, and to miss an opportunity to put this before the town in December is something is kind of a big deal for the school and the kids. And so I was wondering if there's any precedent or history, not having been on this very long, for some kind of a contingent approval that we would say, we approve this contingent upon receipt of plans or some extra degree of certainty by some date. I know that's kind of what we might be saying to get something in time for town meeting, but I just, I worry a little bit that they would be rushed, that they might have fewer proposals in response to an RFP, they would,
David,
I just worry about the time on this.
Let's cross that bridge when we come to it, David. I think if we were to say, and again, I only speak for myself, but what I hear people saying is very positive to the idea of helping to support the playground. Some issues associated with it, the largest piece being how much money and how much money when would be needed, and if there is some interim. So Lisa, I'll get to you in a second, Jan, but Lisa, if there's is 2 or 3 weeks, if we gave you, until the beginning of September to get back to us with, and you can only do what you can do. So if you find, as David says, that we don't have a lot more, we'll cross that bridge of what we want to do. But if you can give us some more details about both the price and as Elaine pointed out, if this has to go through public procurement, then it's likely that that price may go up.
And may take longer too.
It may take longer too. You are correct. But David, we don't control that. That's the town has to follow procurement regulations. Jan, I'm sorry.
Well, it's okay. I was just going to suggest that if Lisa inspires Mary Beth to get this done, she will get it done. Good. I don't know anybody more capable of doing things quickly and well than that woman. And I know it's just the beginning of school, so that makes it complicated. But I think if you put it right away in Mary Beth's hand, she'll get it for us.
And Lisa, I think I speak for all of us here, but certainly I and maybe Elaine and Mary and Jen, all of whom have been involved with public procurement and the CPC for a while. We're more than happy to answer any interim questions you have or to help with any process that you need help with.
Sorry, it's Rhonda here. Also, Becky.
Yes, Becky, right. Becky Rosenthal
is happy to help you as soon as
right.
camp is over. She and Angel, who've done this now with us several times, are also, in your corner and happy to help.
If we look at our calendars, would it, if we let this go until the 15th of September, would that give us enough time? I'm asking you, Mary, would that give us enough time to take a vote and then get it to the select board, which meets on the 21st?
Yeah.
In time for an October deadline.
In that CP2 DOR report that Lisa Souve is doing, I think it's about that time, and that's when we'd get the number we're looking for.
Okay, so I'm happy to do it sooner, but I'm trying to give you as much time as we can, Lisa. So I'm asking the members now, if we had another meeting on September 15th to consider this and on the basis of additional information that may come to us, does that make sense?
Are you talking about 9 o'clock again? Going back to 9?
Yes, 9 o'clock on the 15th. Does that work for folks?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Mary?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so can I ask, I don't know that I need a motion, but I'm happy to entertain one if that makes sense. But just, Lisa, we want to encourage you, but we also want to say we need some more specificity and a plan, and maybe there's an interim, something that we can do now. Remember, this would be awarded, so, and also comment on your timetable. Theoretically, if we had the meeting in December, and theoretically, if we had the money, then we'd have to complete an agreement. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, January 1st would be the earliest that you could get this money. So when you talk about a September, October timetable, that's obviously not realistic. And you could then also apply for the next round of CPA funding, which would be granted as of July 1st. So it's possible that we could make this a two-pronged step, and you would also have a better sense of the capital budget request.
That's a good idea. And that deadline is October 15th.
October 15th. Yeah,
But
we
annual
haven't,
town
we
meeting
haven't
in
crossed
spring.
that bridge yet, but
Right,
so
that's
you
it.
could theoretically make this a two-step process. Are there other comments or questions that folks have for Lisa?
Well, I
Lisa,
just-
thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, since I'm not familiar with the playgrounds in the area, if you like the Orleans or some other place, if you could get a plan from them of what they did, it didn't have to be that you were locked into that, but it would give us a better sense of what it is that we're choosing among or we're talking about.
I think the Truro one is only a few years old by the
Moore Park
library.
is brand new, CPC money mostly.
Yeah, and Mary, do you know how much that went for?
If you wait a minute, I can look.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, if you would, or pass that information along to Lisa when you have it. To give
Okay,
her a feel.
I'll just pass it along because, yeah.
Can I ask where the playground, is it at the Orleans Elementary School, or where is the one you're talking about, Lisa?
So the one I was mentioning was the Orleans Elementary School. That one in Puma Park, I know, are my favorite playgrounds in the area. But unfortunately, I think the difference is, and I'm not an expert, so I don't want to say it can't be done, but those are both examples of a community build where, you know, all the local people came out and worked together
is that
for a
right?
week to put it up. So it's such a great community feeling. But I think in our situation, we're really looking at more like design features installed, just because it's a lot more efficient. But you know, I don't know, maybe that can all be looked at. If you want to do a community build, it has all that extra charm, but it also comes with just a ton of legwork and can take kind of years to put together. And well, I guess the money is the big part. Yeah, I mean, that would be my ideal situation for sure.
We actually did that with the one that just got demolished. It was.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Community built. You know, there are companies at the time that did it, and I think we used the company that did the one in Orleans, but you know, but then it is a certain kind of playground that might not meet the ideas, you know, that you're thinking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we have our next playground committee meeting on the 23rd, and you know, right today I'll get to Mary Beth and let her know what everyone talked about here and see how much information she can get and how quickly. And like Jan said, she really is very efficient, so I think she'll do what she can. But at the very least, on our next playground committee meeting on the 23rd, we can, you know, talk way more extensively about what we want it to look like and really get some final details for everybody.
Mary, CPA applications, I think, are public property. You could maybe borrow the one from Truro and forward it.
I had to borrow it. I have those.
Oh, excellent. So if you could give that to Lisa, maybe that would help.
Sure. And they did it in multi-steps.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Super. Any other comments that folks have or any other questions? Well, Lisa, thank you so much for your time today. I think it's a great project. We've tried to figure out a way we can do it within the confines of both money and time, but I think you hear a lot of support here.
Well, I just want to say thank you, because I knew I loved this town, but you know, to all of you guys, I see your faces on all sorts of committees helping out, you know, families, and we appreciate it so much. So I really thank you for all your support. You say bye?
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lisa.
Take care.
All right. Any other comments or suggestions on the playground? All right. So we move to our next application, which is to fund another buy down. Elaine, do you want me to do this or? Yes. Okay. I can tell you with great joy that last week we completed our 7th buy down purchase. All of them CPA funded, and all of them deed restricted affordable homes for Wellfletians. So it's a project that really works well. It doesn't put it buys existing homes It puts no burden on resources or construction or tree removal, septic or water, other than those that already exist. And that we actually had 3 applicants this time who were fully qualified. And we had a lottery, actually we had 4. And one person was awarded and we had 3 on a waiting list. Last year, you, the CPA, provided funding for the Housing Trust, which was created last September. And the Housing Trust voted to use some of the money that they were granted to fund another buy down. So we are now in the process of doing our 8th buy down. It is for a young, wealthy, single parent family with a couple of kids. And they are now anxiously looking for a home. The challenge has been the insanity of the house prices in Wellfleet. I shouldn't say insanity, because if you own a home, it's really good news. But if you don't own a home and you're a working person trying to stay in the community, it's really tough. I used this the other day at the Housing Angels meeting, but the median price of a house in Wellfleet is now about $700,000. That's the median price. So the one that we just awarded completed a buy down was the least expensive house on the market and was the most expensive buy down that we ever did at $415,000. So the price of houses is going up, but people's wages are not. And so we recently got information from the county and they told us that if you work in retail in Wellfleet today, you are making about $30,000. If you're working in a restaurant, you're making about $38,000. If you're working in the arts, strangely enough, you're making a little bit more, $45,000. And in construction, it's $55,000. So what you would need to make to afford that $700,000 mortgage on that $700,000 house would be about $150,000. So it's well outside the range of what even 2 working people working the typical jobs in Wellfleet could easily afford. And so therefore, this time we have asked for an increase in the amount of money. We have previously asked for $185,000, of which $175,000 is part of the grant, and that can be used for both the reduction of the purchase price as well as to pay for necessary repairs. And we do try to not burden the new homeowner with a house they can't afford. And so we will set aside up to 5 years worth of repairs on things like roof and heating system and just infrastructure for the house. So in this particular one that we just did, we gave a grant of $160,000 and $15,000 went towards repairs on the house. To put in perspective, that house for $415,000 right on Route 6, pretty close, was an 800 square foot house, 800 square foot house. So the challenge is terrific, but it's also the best way we know of to provide home ownership to the working folks of Wellfleet. I will tell you that we're now evaluating the 95 Lawrence proposals, and to even build 1 unit of rental housing, the estimates are now in excess of $400,000. So to build 1 unit of affordable rental in Wellfleet costs more than that. So in terms of this being a quote unquote good deal, we're effectively buying a deed restricted house for, now we're asking for $210,000 200 for the total grant and $10,000 for the administration. Are there questions that people have about the buy down program? Yes, David.
First of all, I fully support this proposal, but I'm just kind of like the last discussion. Do we have to be concerned about how much money we actually have?
Yes,
In the same way.
David, you raise a good point, and I'd like to put in one other point. I mentioned 95 Lawrence, which is a 46 unit project that the town, we now have received the bids. And I don't want to speak for Elaine, who's the chair of the committee, but I think we're encouraged by the quality of the companies and the bids that we've gotten. So we're hopeful to move forward with this. In all of the bid requests, there are requests in all of the bid submissions. There are requests for CPA funding, and it's in the $400,000 to $500,000 range, David. And to give you a feel, that's actually not out of line at all with what other communities in our area. Eastham recently did their Nauset Green project on Brackett Road, and they actually had to put up more money than that. And it's not inconsistent with what Orleans and P-Town and Truro are being asked to do for similar projects. So it's not an out of whack request, and it's really critical because what they do is they go to the state for funding. It's called low-income tax credits, but no matter what it is, but they go to the state for millions of dollars worth of funding for these big projects. And what they look for is an expression from the community that they're backing the project. And the biggest expression of that is granting them the money. So it is a consideration of, do we want to do this now, not knowing what we may be called upon to do in the future by way of supporting that. It's not anything we have to do this year, but it's probably something we have to do in the next year or so. Okay, I've talked a lot. So any questions that people have? Any other questions?
Can I ask it's Rhonda, may I ask just
Sure,
a miscellaneous question?
Sure.
Have we considered prefab homes as opposed to stick-built and the cost savings there?
Rhonda, we have looked in the past at various methodologies, including pre-built or modular. The reality is, it's really expensive to bring them to Wellfleet, to ship them from whether they're built in Maine or New Hampshire or Canada, to bring them to Wellfleet. So that adds a lot of costs. But the other issue is we just don't have the land to put them on right now. So again, the buy down doesn't require us to have any additional land.
Sure.
Obviously the house already sits on whatever property it's
I
on.
understand. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, may I say
Sure,
something?
Michael, jump in there, please.
Yeah, no, I think the proposal is very good, and I would move that we approve the a proposal for the buy down program as stated.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, then I would ask, maybe in this case, we should actually do a vote. Well, I'll do it in our normal fashion, is that all those in favor signify by raising their hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? And any abstentions? Well, thank you very much. And we will keep you posted. Obviously, guys, when we get to the playground at the next meeting, maybe we'll have a better sense of how much money we have. And so we may prioritize, maybe we need to move some things to next spring's town meeting. And we'll also have a better sense of what we need for 95 Lawrence. So we can revisit that, but I do appreciate your support on this today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary, for all the work it takes to do a buy-down project that you volunteer for. So it's much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
it's truly a group effort. So thank Elaine and thank all the people. Our program now, for what it's worth, is administered by the Community Development Partnership, CDP.
Oh, good.
And they've done a good job. And one of the reasons we went to the trust to fund the other one is that we got permission from the state, from DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development, to use our existing lottery. So that actually saved us about $10,000. Because it costs that much. We have to go out to advertise and administer it and whatnot. So it's really good when we can do something like that. It saves us a lot of money, as well as we already have a qualified individual. Okay. Are there, Mary, I don't have the agenda. Oh, here it is.
The Historical Commission wants to move some.
I'm
money
sorry,
around.
yes. So you want to speak to, who would like to speak to this?
Yeah, I will do so, Jim.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
We're requesting an extension of the deadline of our 2018 CPA grant until the end of this calendar year, and to use the funds remaining, there's roughly $3,879 remaining, to continue the preparation of building inventory forms. Our preservation consultant, Lynn Smilage, is available to do this work, and the remaining funds would underwrite approximately 18 more inventory forms to add to the 102 that have been completed to date under CPA funding in 2017 and 2018. And we did submit a chart of the account that kind of explains how the 2018 funds of approximately $20,000 have been used and the funds that remain. So that's our petition before you.
That's
Thank
an
you so
easy
much.
one. I move that we give that extension to the Historical
Is there a
Commission.
second to Jan's motion? Thank you very much, David.
Second.
Are there questions that folks have?
Yeah, I only have one question for Mary. This moving money
Yes.
around, is this all legitimate?
had
Yes,
the same
yes, I'm the
question.
only one that actually keeps track of what they said on the application. But when you get to the article at town meeting, it was just stated as the plan, the Historical Commission plan, which means Form Bs, which is now what they want to really concentrate on. And on the agreement, the extension is absolutely in the agreement that in a 3-year, you can, after 3 years, you can have an extension for a good reason, which they certainly do. COVID year, they couldn't go forward with things. They had changes in membership and couldn't have quorums. So you're granted the extension, but the money in accounting, it's no problem. They simply have the one fund set aside for this purpose.
Okay, I just very specifically, there was a historical plan, and apparently that was paid for out of building Form B.
The Form
According to
Bs
the-
make up the historical plan, as I understand it, but the historical plan, $3,000 was not used. It's just going to go into Form Bs, which are the appendix to the plan. Maybe Jim could explain the plan a little more. I thought the plan was like everything in one place, and then each Form B is its own little item.
Well, the plan was actually a design to prioritize the buildings that would be subject to inventory, and that was done. I think what happened is that that money was allocated as if it came from Form B, but I mean they're so closely aligned.
Yeah,
that,
totally.
You know, it's phase 1, phase 2 kind of thing, so that the funds weren't commingled, but they're so closely aligned that they're almost identical in terms of intent.
And they were only specified, the separation was only specified on the application. So, and I have been accounting that, but not the accounting department. They just have it as one big sum.
Okay, thank you.
So Mary, to Ned, and you and I had an exchange on this already, that this is consistent with CPA rules. Very good. Are there any other questions regarding this motion? Seeing none, I'm going to ask.
Geraldine seems to be.
Geraldine, did you have a question?
No,
Okay. If there are no other questions or comments, I'll call the vote. And again, I'll ask you to signify by saying
Aye.
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 I,
Aye.
Gary
any
seems
opposed?
frozen.
I'm sorry.
You
You
were
were
frozen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should I take the vote again?
No, no.
I think I
you-
got it.
No.
Okay, so are there any nays? Are there any abstentions? Seeing none, I think it is unanimous and appreciate all that you're doing on the Historical Commission. So
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Mary, again, I don't have the, now I have,
So the next meeting we already actually scheduled for September 15th, 9 a.m.
Mhm.
okay. And is there any other business that we have to take care of today, Mary?
Well, if anybody has any project reports or concerns, we should know about, but you kind of covered that with the buy down.
Okay, does anyone else like to report on any of the programs going on?
Can I just
Michael,
say something nice about the Historic Commission and the work they were doing and how we had encouraged them to use some interns? And the last intern that they used just got hired at Ellis Island to do
Oh, terrific.
Oh,
do
wonderful.
public history and genealogy.
Great, great news.
Great.
Wow.
So I think it was a wonderful thing that, is it Lynn or the name of the woman doing?
Lynn Smilage, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was wonderful that she was willing to work with someone and really help them advance.
Get
Oh,
ahead.
that's good to
I
hear.
wonder if
Thank
we
you.
could tradition that tradition. I think we would certainly, I think, encourage you to use some of that money to find another intern. I think it's
Yes.
good results and a good opportunity for a local person.
I agree with you.
Excellent. All right. Any other comments or questions that folks have? So I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Our next one is scheduled for the 15th of September at 9 o'clock. And the principal purpose to review the recreation playground request. Anything else people would like to add to the agenda for next meeting?
Well, the money, hopefully.
Yeah.
Money, right. I think that's I'm going to
Given.
suggest, Mary, that's a permanent question.
I
in
move
addition to
we
the minute-
adjourn.
Very
Okay.
good. Thank you all for your time today. Enjoy the rest of this lovely day.
Thank you. Be
Thank
well,
you very
everyone.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Feel better, Geraldine.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
bye-bye.
Oh, did Gary?
Oh, I have to stop the
You
recording.
need to end the meeting.
Yes, I need
Okay.
to. My fault.
Um,
Do I have to stop?
Figure out how to get out of it.
Yeah.